Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me as he does every week from TheRinger.com is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
What's happening, Verno?
We have had a trade since we last spoke, and that was the Golden State Warriors acquiring Dennis Schröder. Who I saw get into it with the Memphis Grizzlies on Friday night. After we had recorded, there was a curse fest going on between Ja Morant and Dennis Schröder and the coach of the Grizzlies and Dennis Schröder. And interestingly enough, so that was the third time that Memphis and Brooklyn have played because there was this odd circumstance of getting these rescheduled games if you weren't involved with the Cup. So you would never play an Eastern Conference team a third time unless this happened. So they did. And then there was that big kerfuffle after the game. I'm sure people have seen the video going around. The next home game, the next game that Memphis plays, Golden State. So Dennis Schröder is back in FedEx Forum on Thursday night. So I will tell people you might want to tune that one in because he is in FedEx Forum on Thursday night right after they were going F you, no F you, F you, F you. Back and forth at the end of the Brooklyn game. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Of all the teams that he could have gotten traded to. And so, of course, I've seen all too much of Dennis Schröder this year. He has been fantastic this year for Brooklyn. And I think he's going to really help Golden State. I thought that was a great deal for them.
I mean, would they give up like a 3 second rounders or something?
Right.
It's just like sure. It honestly felt like the Nets were just like, Dennis Schröder, you're too good. We have to get you out of here because you're winning us basketball games. So please go away. And this is hey, Podziemski, what happened to you? What happened to you, Brandon Podziemski? Because I really feel like this spot, this sort of like when Steph is out, we'll run the offense through this person, primary ball handler, shot creator, someone that can get their own shot. That was supposed to be Podziemski, and it just had this year. He's just not hitting.
They can't score without Steph on the floor.
Yeah,
and it's like, and nobody sits around and goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe they let Chris Paul." They let Chris Paul walk and didn't replace him, but it has had an impact in the sense that anytime that Steph Curry's out of the game, they haven't been able to do anything. And so Schroder gives them that, right?
Offensive rating goes from 119 to 101 with Steph off and on. Think about that. That's 119 to 101. Like that's like Jokic.
It is.
Without Steph. They needed somebody. They need something. And everyone's talking about Jimmy Butler, but Schroder is definitely going to help. And they gave up 3 second rounders. They basically gave him away.
Well, and Melton's, contract.
He's hurt.
He wasn't going to be able to contribute to that team anyway. And so I think good move for the Warriors for sure.
Absolutely.
And now you may see some real smoke on Thursday night because between Schroder and Draymond, and both of them have had problems with the Memphis coach. You have had Draymond come out and scorn him on his own podcast, which is so bizarre because he's not some kind of like firecracker guy. And then you have
Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, right. Who has anybody ever looked at him as a lightning bolt? And now you have Schroder and Draymond who both detest him. And so now we're going to have who knows what take place on Thursday night.
I'll never forget the first time I saw Taylor Jenkins. I was like, wait, he's a white guy? I was like, there's a Jenkins? There's a white Jenkins? It's like, damn.
Since we last spoke, we've had a record set for the most threes in the game. That was the Mavs and the Warriors. We have also had the most missed threes in the game. Is this not the most indicative thing of the way basketball is played and this season now, where we had the Hornets and the Bulls combined for the most missed threes in NBA history? And then since we last spoke, we also had the Mavs and the Warriors combined for the most made threes in NBA history in a game.
It doesn't bother me. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time complaining about the amount of threes that get shot. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all.
To me, it's a perfect example of teams that should be shooting them and teams that shouldn't.
Fair.
And super high volume. Like the juxtaposition between the two. Like, I don't think everybody should play the same way. Like,
No.
I think it's wise if you've got a bunch of guys that can hit them.
Fair.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. And not even like if you look at the teams in the cup, like the Hawks and the Rockets and the Thunder, and like they're not shooting a ton of threes like the Celtics. You know what I mean?
That Rockets Thunder game that first half was atrocious.
What was the score at the half? It was like 41-40 or something. It was nuts.
And them lauding the great defense. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just bad.
Well, you called it that first game, the early game. I think it's like 1:30 in Vegas.
Yes.
It was just dead. It was absolutely. It
was actually the fun game.
It didn't even sound right. It just didn't sound right watching on TV. I was like, I felt like my audio was broken or something. It's just quiet.
That happened exactly like that last year, where it was Bucks and Pacers were the first game, and it was by far the better game of the two, but there's just no juice in the building.
Yeah. I thought it was a good game for the Hawks. I thought the Hawks played well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought they played pretty well as well. I mean, look, Jalen Johnson had a wide open, butt naked three, and he bricked it.
Mm-hmm.
They had their chance. A couple bad stories since we last spoke. Embiid with the sinus fracture, McCain with the meniscus. I mean, this is just. I know that you had Paul George and Maxey have good games last night in unison against Charlotte, but this is a nightmare. Seriously. Yeah. It's just, this whole season has just been a nightmare so far. And we're just at December 17th, but good grief. Can anything else go wrong for Philly?
Do you know that I didn't realize this. I remember, obviously we all remember Embiid with Pascal Siakam hit him. He's had 3 sort of like facial fractures. 3 in his career. It's so weird. It's one thing if you're like Zion, like hamstrings, or you've got knees like Kawhi or something, but this is just freaky stuff. He's constantly getting hit in the face, and there's no like rhyme or reason to it. It didn't even look that bad when Mathurin hit him. It didn't look that bad, but obviously it was because he's out. But it didn't seem like he's gonna be out for a long time. He's going to be reevaluated in a week. He'll probably wear a mask. So I don't think this is going to be like a season killer type of a thing, but this has been the year from hell. They literally, their big 3 have played 3 games together, and in those 3 games, one of them wasn't available in the second half. So they've had 1 game where all 3 of them were available for the whole game.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Also, we've got the story, trade season began with the Dennis Schröder deal. And then inevitably we're going to start getting rumors out. Last week we covered how the agent for Jimmy Butler and Shams were in a public spat of sorts. And then we're starting to get more things leak out. And then this weekend we get, hey, all the Pelicans are available except for, except for Missy and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. And it's like, oh gosh. Okay. All right. Herb Jones. So don't call about them. Don't call about Missy.
Eve Missy. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't call about Missy.
Zion. But if you want Zion, go ahead.
All right. Zion, Ingram, McCollum. If we're trying to rank, like, I actually think this is hard. Which is the easiest one to move?
McCollum. I think Ingram is the most valuable.
I mean, McCollum's contract stinks too.
But he's not playing. He's not playing bad. He's getting 21 points a game. I like him. I could see him being a contributor, but you mentioned the contract. It's just so hard with this whole like first apron, second apron, hard cap, match the salaries. You can't. He just signed extensions, so you can't deal him. Like with all of the constraints that they put on trades now, it's so hard to get something done, and I don't see it. There's no like sort of natural dancing partner for the Pelicans for these trades.
Yeah, and I mean it's like what is it? $33 million this year, $30.6 million next year. That's the McCollum thing. boy, I think honestly, I think we've all expected that Ingram's going to go somewhere at some point. That's not going to be a long-term thing. They're not. If they were going to sign up for Brandon Ingram long-term, if they were going to get, and I know they say he's turned down like exorbitant amount of money, so they have offered him big money in the past, of which he has turned down, and so just given the future and that. If they're not going to be the ones that are spending $200 million or whatever it's going to be for Brandon Ingram, then we figure he's got to find a landing place. And we thought it was going to happen in the offseason. I guess the Zion thing is the interesting one because...
Is it?
Because the expectation was, I think, with the CJ McCollum, you could see happening. And with Ingram, you could for sure see happening. But, I think it's the moment where it's like, okay, they are ready to get out of the Zion business. I don't think that we have gotten a, true report on we're ready to get out of the Zion business.
Who's ready to get into the Zion business?
Well, that's the question.
Like what is the market for Zion Williamson right now? What is it? He's not playing. His contract is huge.
People will always convince themselves of talent.
No,
they will.
What team? What team wants Zion Williamson?
People will always convince themselves of talent. Thus, Ben Simmons just stopped playing basketball and somebody traded for him. He just stopped. He just didn't show up to work. He just stopped playing.
Do you know he hasn't hit a shot outside the paint since February of 2023? I saw that somewhere online. Seriously, a professional basketball player, like on a max deal. Hasn't hit a shot outside the paint. He's not like 7'6".
Oh, you mean in a game? Because every summer I see the videos. He has. You mean in a sanctioned game?
In a sanctioned game, yes. Okay. That's what I mean. On
Instagram, he's like 20 for 20 from three.
Lighting it up.
He never misses on Instagram. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe Ben Simmons just needs to play games on Instagram.
Trade Ben Simmons for Zion Williamson. Go ahead. Do it.
Not your craziest idea. No. But look, I think there's somebody that's always willing. There's somebody always willing to bank on the talent. And look, there is somebody out there that's going to convince themselves it's New Orleans' fault. We get him out of that environment. We get him on a diet. We get him in a good culture. We get him in, and again, I think that might be total foolishness. I think you agree.
Yes.
That might be nonsense, but there will be somebody that convinces themselves, if I get him out of there, I'm going to be able, he is still young. And if I could ever get him to, when he grows up, and if we ever can get him in the best shape with the best sports science people, what you can't do is replicate that talent. And if I can get him right, it's worth the gamble. If I have a 1 in 5 chance, and maybe it's a longer odds than that to be able to.
Hurt in high school, hurt in college, hurt in summer league, hurt in his rookie year. Mm-hmm. But when you said earlier this season, you said you're like, I'm out on Zion Williamson. And once you said that, I started thinking about it, and I'm there too. If I'm running an NBA team, I don't even entertain the idea of trading for Zion Williamson.
Well, because the hard part is this: what we all forget is that he played all of last season. He did. He played
until the end,
and he wasn't. He wasn't. Nobody was sitting there talking about he was nowhere near an all-star snub or anything, and he wasn't even sniffing an all-NBA or anything. And so he did play last season. He did play. And it wasn't some kind of like spectacular, I think prior to last season, virtually every time we'd seen him on the floor, he was great. It was really just the injuries that held him back. And even if you look at his numbers right now, he's still mega productive.
He is. He's productive.
When he plays, he is.
I remember peak Zion was probably like the Stan Van years when he's running the point and pick and rolls.
Well, and
he's on a roll.
And I was starting to believe, look, when he went out last year, in that play-in game, I mean, he was an absolute force of nature in that game.
Yeah.
And it was like such a moment. It was so indicative of his career. It was such a microcosm, which is, oh my God, look at this force of nature. He's the best player on the floor.
Future of the league.
In a game that includes LeBron James and Anthony Davis, this guy's the most dominant guy. And then he blows out his leg again, and it's like, Jesus. All right. We each have 4 things worth mentioning on this beautiful Tuesday. You want to start or you want me to start?
You start, Verno.
All right. So you mentioned Jason Tatum earlier and lamented the fact that, why isn't he possibly more popular? And I'm going to give him a little love today because I saw an article since we last spoke about, it was Hoops Hype printed an article, and it was a ranking, and it was the players with the most games per season in NBA history. Okay. And of course, this has become a topic because it feels like a dice roll anytime you tune into an NBA game or you go to an NBA game in person. One of the things that we have seriously resented is you don't know whether or not the stars are going to play or not. Right. And so they put together this list, and interestingly enough, the highest percentage of games played per season was Dennis Johnson. All-time great.
DJ?
For the Sonics and the Celtics. And then up there, you've got John Havlicek, you've got Bobby Jones, you've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, AC Green. Like, you may notice all of these guys are from times gone by, right? They're historical figures within the game. Number 6 on the list is Jason Tatum.
Huh. So this is games per season?
Yes.
Huh.
A modern player finishing this high on this ranking is quite impressive, considering that teams do what teams do to rest their players during the regular season these days, especially when it comes to all-star level players. So Boston Celtics forward Jason Tatum deserves much credit for ranking so high in this exercise. At the same time, that more so has to do with the number of deep playoff runs Tatum and Boston have made during their time together. Because Tatum has yet to suit up in all 82 regular season games in a single campaign. On the other hand, he already has 5 playoff runs in which he has played at least 17 games.
See, I was wondering why Mikal Bridges wasn't on there, but that makes more sense now. Because they're always playing an extra, 12, 15 games.
Right. So he is 89.4 per season. His lowest is 69 in a season. But then you go down the list, they end up ranking 39 guys on this list. 39 guys on this list. None of them are current players. None of them.
No
Tatum
Giannis, no Jokic.
No, Tatum is number 6, and then no one else is a current player.
Yeah, I guess Jokic would be one that I would think about, or Bridges.
Yeah.
Not on there. He's the only modern player on there.
Correct. The only modern player on there. And has played in what amounted to an average of, 90. Well, let me get the number so I don't say it correctly. 89.43. His best mark, he played 100 games in 21-22. And his worst mark is 69 games in 2021. So beyond anything, the guy has been intensely reliable, and I do think he deserves kudos for that, because in a day and age where guys miss games on regular occasion, one thing you have been able to count on is Jason Tatum plays.
Yeah.
He has been intensely durable, and so I think maybe people need to look into, how does he do it? How is he always available? How is he always available to play basketball?
He is. I'm going to try to think of his injuries. He had that ankle injury in Game 7.
Yeah.
But he's been all those playoff runs. He's there. He's there. He's averaging 28, 9 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. There's something. What is it about him that he's not a bigger star? Is it just personality? Is it the Celtics? Is it him and Brown cancel each other out in a certain respect?
Personality and lack of highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Shout out to Deuce, though. Love Deuce. All right. Here's something. I sent you this. I saw this clip. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched the Timberwolves Spurs game, okay? But I saw the clips. Some people have probably seen this in their algorithm as well. Rudy Gobert absolutely smoked 3 wide open butt naked layups and an alley-oop attempt. Again, uncontested alley-oop, uncontested layups. Like he's standing there asking for the ball under the basket, wide open, catches the ball, all 7-4 of him, and misses 4 of these shots against the Spurs. And I thought it was hilarious, right? He's so tall, he's asking for the ball, and he's missing it. Now,
especially given the controversy that we had earlier this year, which is his massive frustration with Julius
not getting
Randle
the ball.
and refusal to leave the paint.
Yeah. And I just found this fascinating. I found it just fascinating. Because
What is
one
fascinating?
thing. It's one thing if you're like DeRozan last night, you're cutting to the basket and the pass is a little low and you kind of fumble it. But he's not even moving. Like the idea that he's standing there calling for the ball under the basket, catching it, turning around point blank and missing 4 of these in a game is wild. Now, one thing to say in his defense is he doesn't do this all the time, right?
Oh,
like he
stop.
misses
no
little
defense.
hook shots. He misses little hook shots and stuff like that. Like he's not a scorer. He doesn't have good hands.
No. There is no defense. You're 9 foot tall.
And he's getting to the right spot. He's getting to the right spot, getting open, getting the ball. He's just not finishing in this particular game. But here's one thing I looked up, which I was fascinated by. Is in 2 games, he's taken double-digit shot attempts. He took 10 in one game and 11 in one game this entire year. How is it possible in this offense with his size that he's only taken 10 shot attempts twice this entire season? Like, how is that possible?
Well, Ant doesn't pass to him. Randall doesn't want to pass to him. So, I mean.
But even putbacks.
I mean, unless Mike Conley throws in the ball. Cat threw the ball to him a lot. Cat passed to him the most. The other guys, they don't want to pass. They ain't trying to pass to him.
Well, now I know why. Because these are.
What do you mean? You know why now? I mean, he's always stunk.
But he always didn't have offense, but he could dunk. He could dunk and finish layups. But I always laughed at him because he always thought he'd always take a couple little hook shots, like little baby hook shots. And they just look ridiculous. Like probably wouldn't even hit the rim. But these clips were just wild.
Oh, I mean, look, I've gotten in all manner of arguments in the past over this, but it's like, his rate at finishing at the rim is blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what the nerds will tell you when they're defending him. Be like, no shit, he's 9 foot tall, and all he does is, the only thing he makes
in the
is dunks. That's it.
Yeah.
So he's very efficient at finishing around the basket. Like, I'd hope so. Like, what? It's also super funny when he misses layup.
He's the most hated person in the league, too. I don't know him personally. Like, I don't even know anything about his personality. But player after player after player goes after him, disrespects him, and talks shit about him behind his back. And I just don't know why. I don't know him personally, but I don't know why everyone hates Rudy Gobert. Do you know?
I mean, part of it is resent, right? Feeling that he is so beloved by the nerd NBA media. And he is also a great example of basketball arguments versus stat head arguments, right? The guy that feels like he knows basketball, plays basketball, right? And then what the stats tell you how great Rudy Gobert is, and then he wins Defensive Player of the Year all the time. And, again, there is no greater gulf between talk to a player about Rudy Gobert and talk to a media member about Rudy Gobert. Like, he is the prime example of the greatest difference in opinion on the abilities and value of a player. And so they feel like he has gotten awarded, over and over again, and they are constantly being told how amazing he is, and they play against him.
But if you're so good, make a shot. Shoot a shot. How do you shoot 11 shots is your high for the season?
It's fair.
Shoot shots.
All right. Next thing I want to mention, my buddy Tim Bontemps, who works for ESPN, I'm sure he'll be talking about it later in the week, and he'll post it later in the week. He does the NBA straw poll throughout the NBA season. It's one of the great things it's done. He has access to all manner of media members. He sends out a request. Hey, right now, who would you vote top 5 in the MVP? And I have never been shy about telling you, I do vote in this.
Okay.
In this trouble. So he sent it out to me last night, and I wanted to take my time, because I don't know what my peers are going to vote on this.
So top 5 MVP in order.
I'm going to guess right now that when his article comes out, my guess, it feels like there's a massive SGA wave.
Well, did you put Jay Huff at 4 or 5?
I did not. I did not put Jay. I'll tell you who I put. I'll tell you who I put.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's going to be SGA. I think right now it feels like, we're always at the mercy of narrative, and he's playing in the finals of the NBA Cup. He's been great in this NBA Cup.
Oh, yeah.
He's just on national TV. Their team is the best team in the Western Conference. I think it's going to be SGA. I will tell you, I had Jokic.
You had Jokic 1, SGA 2.
I had Jokic 1, and then I had SGA 2. Yes, I did.
Giannis 3.
And that was simply on the basis of
Giannis 3.
Yes.
Okay. 4. Jay Huff.
It is not Jay Huff.
Brandon Clark.
It was Yuki Kawamura.
Yuki Kawamura.
It would have been hilarious if I would have sent that in. I bet he wouldn't have included it.
No, he wouldn't. Who do you have 4?
Tatum.
Yeah.
Best player. It's a best player bust team.
5. George Niang.
I wondered about this one.
5 isn't as easy as you think. I'm trying to think of who it would be.
I put Luka.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's what I had right now. But, you could talk me out of that. But that's what I have right now. So the reason I had, and again, the only thing I'd argue on the Jokic front is, they're in the top 5 in the standings right now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them without him this year and came on this show and been like, okay, is that guy the greatest player ever? And he's literally I'm sorry. SGA's great. It's a cool wave. This guy is having the greatest season in NBA history. And I get being fatigued. I get he's already got his. I get looking for somebody new. But I draw the line when you're having the greatest season ever, statistically. He is second in the NBA in scoring. He is second in the NBA in rebounding. And he is second in the NBA in assists.
Jesus.
What? I'm so, and I also think if you took him off of that team, they would be horrible. Not okay. They would be horrible. I'm not telling you that. I do think I do think if you took SGA off, you would certainly be nowhere near a top 4 seed or the best team in the Western Conference.
Still a good team.
They would still be good.
Still a good team.
Still be good. They got good players. They'd be a good team.
Yeah,
but
I believe, and their defense would be great too. But the Nuggets, DeAndre Jordan tried to dunk last night. It was embarrassing. I didn't think he got within 2 feet of the basket.
And so I think it's going to be SGA in that straw poll. That's what I'd guess. But I refuse to apologize for on this one, putting a guy in there that's 31, 13, and 10. That's, come on. What are we talking about?
Yeah, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. It's Jokic. I think that's you make a fair point. I want it to be SGA. I want SGA to win, but I am a narrative guy, and I'm tired of the same people winning all the time, but it should be Jokic. He's the most valuable player in basketball. He's the best player in the league. So why don't we give him the trophy?
Your next thing worth mentioning.
Tuned in to the Sixers against the Hornets. I didn't know this was going to happen. LaMelo Ball is back.
He is back.
And listen to our favorite announcer, Eric Collins, just celebrate LaMelo Ball.
Great anticipation by LaMelo. And he rips the ball away from Lowry. That never happens. Make it hurt, LaMelo. Miles Bridges! That's what I'm talking about. 3 dunks for Miles Bridges. Here comes LaMelo. He's got Miles. Yes! We've been dreaming of this for a while.
That's not edited. Those are consecutive alley-oops from LaMelo. And I love Eric Collins. I love LaMelo. And they're not going to win any games, but he's just so fun to watch. And I'm so glad that he's back. I love him in my life.
And Eric Collins has been a long-time subject of the mismatch. I absolutely love him. I think he's hilarious. But he broke my heart last year, Jacoby.
What happened?
The only thing I wanted to do was to get Eric Collins in my local studio. I mean, I've been talking about him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And how much I love watching the
Comes
Hornets
to town.
and how hilarious.
Your local show's at noon. You can easily just pop by.
He declined.
What?
I know. It broke my heart.
For what reason?
I don't know.
For what reason?
I don't know. They were terrible too.
Why?
It broke my heart. I don't know.
Because again,
they just said he politely would like to decline the interview, and I was like, how many people have asked him for an interview this year? Like I might be the only one.
Also,
this is
for those
insane.
that don't know, the Chris Vernon Show every day at noon.
It broke my heart.
It's from the arena. It's right there at the end of Beale Street. Like
my
you don't
studio,
have to travel out of town. You don't have to go to the burbs.
My studio
is
is
there,
literally 30 yards from the front door of the arena.
The show is at noon.
He broke my heart.
So he flew in the night before.
When they
what
told
else
me no,
is he doing?
When they told me no, I was crestfallen.
We've got to. All right, here's a question.
Because I love him so much.
Do you try again, or is that it for life? I think he's out. You can't ask again. I'll ask on your behalf next time they're in town. I'll write a strongly worded email.
No, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to ask again.
Do it.
I am. And then I'll report on it.
Every single time he's in town.
No, and I'll report on it.
Yeah. Every single time he's in town.
In fact, here, let me look at
Let's look at the schedule. Let's find out when the Hornets come to town.
I will tell you.
Probably only twice a year, right?
Well, we need it to not be on a weekend, right? Because I'm Monday through Friday. So we need it desperately to not be.
Oh, pre-tape an interview. Fire up the studio. Get Roser out there.
All right. When do we have Charlotte home game?
Memphis.
Oh, my goodness. This game.
We got to get the Eric Collins.
It is a Wednesday, January 22nd.
All right. Get the ask in now. Get the ask in now.
I'm for sure asking. So we've got a month, and I'll be able to report back to you whether or not he agreed to come in or not. But I love it.
It's one thing if you're asking for the head coach or the star player. You're asking for Eric Collins. He's a media member.
Right.
All right. We'll get it done. I'll write the email. I'll write the email and send it to you. I'll make up all kinds of bullshit stats about the popularity of the Chris Vernon Show. And the influence. Previous guests include Tom Cruise,
Jacoby,
every president,
Dave Jacoby.
Yeah, every president, Tony Allen.
All right. The next thing worth mentioning. So this happened like last week, and now there's kind of like a advance of the story, but we did not mention it. And that is, we are all looking forward to a time when next year the new TV deal comes in, and then while we are upset that we're going to have to subscribe to 15 different streaming options in order to watch all the NBA, we know NBC's going to have a crew. We know that ESPN's going to have their crew, and Amazon is going to start.
We got some news.
Basketball. Dirk Nowitzki that came out that they're in talks with Dirk Nowitzki, who I would say in my lifetime of being an NBA fan is very, very close to the top of the most universally beloved individuals. Wouldn't you say?
Oh,
Who doesn't like Dirk? Seriously.
Everybody likes Dirk.
Everybody likes Dirk. And I actually think he's funny when I've seen him on interviews and whatnot. And so I think he has a chance to be really good. He's obviously an all-time great.
We at Grantland, we taped an interview with him and Steve Nash at just eating steak. It was hilarious. And after that championship, there's nothing better than interviewing athletes after they win a championship.
Yep.
That is when you get the funniest, most relaxed, most comfortable version of any athlete in any sport is immediately following, climbing to the top of the mountain. And at an all-star game, I think it was Houston, Bill did an interview with Dirk, and he just had that energy. He just had that I just beat the Heat energy. And he was just so relaxed, so confident, so funny. And he was just like, I was like, man, this guy can have a long career in media if he wants it. And I think it's a great sign. It's great.
Right. And what you want with these things is when the stories come out, you want me to go, oh, I want to see that.
Huh. Yeah. It's all, you know what I said to myself? How come he's not doing media already? That's what I said to myself.
So I was like, this is great. I want to see that, right? Like when you announce, no offense to this guy, but when you announce like, and we're going to have Matt Ryan as part of the broadcast, like, I don't care.
Yeah, Jason Garrett. It's like, okay. Do you know the other rumors? A couple weeks ago, I saw a rumor they're talking with Blake Griffin, which I think would be good too. He's funny. He's like legit
for
funny.
Sure. Yeah.
He's legit funny.
And the other thing that I will say is Taylor Rooks is great.
Yeah, Taylor Rooks.
Taylor Rooks. Last year at the All-Star game, they had that alternate broadcast, and she was the one that was on with Draymond and Barkley when they were cracking all the jokes back and forth.
Oh, right.
But she kept that thing in order. She kept it going. She's got a great sense of humor. And she's got great relationships with all manner of people in the NBA. Like, I think Taylor Rooks will be great at that job. I do.
I think so too.
In terms of the first two announcements, I say, good job by you, Amazon. Because the first two announcements, I think, are great ones, which are, you're telling me Dirk Nowitzki's going to be on there, and you're telling me Taylor Rooks is going to be the host of your stuff on there. I'm in so far.
I think it'll be good. And then they'll sign Verno and Jacoby for the alternate cast. Middle-aged white guy cast.
Doubt that.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh well. All right, I got something. Just frustrating. Nothing to do with Jennifer Garner. Is this Kawhi Leonard saga? It's just going and going and going. And now it's like he practiced. He might come back. We're not sure. Here's what Ty Lue had to say when he was asked about it. Progressed very well. Yeah, progressed well. So then he was asked if he was close to returning. I'm not sure. Then he was asked, who might know the answer? He said, I don't know. Talk to Lawrence Frank. You talk to them. You're not getting me in trouble, man. And then he said, quote, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I don't know. Then they asked him if he was going to travel with the team. Quote, there's a chance he might travel. That hasn't been determined yet, so we'll find out. It's just frustrating. There's no timetable. There's no information. It feels like Lou doesn't know. It feels like Frank doesn't know. It feels like Kawhi doesn't know.
Where have you been the last 6 years?
It's just frustrating to me.
There is never it. This goes back to San Antonio. You're not going to know.
It's frustrating.
Of course
it's frustrating.
Well,
it frustrates me.
It feels like that this is a long, drawn-out, we're going to keep him, like, he's going to be a playoff player. We've just got to make the playoffs.
They tried that last year.
Right. No, he played.
We saw that last year.
He played last year.
And then he just stopped.
Right. But
they just stopped playing.
And so this year what they're going to do is, you're not even playing during the regular season, really.
But they did that last year. That was the plan. We're like, we want to make sure Kawhi Leonard is available for the playoffs. What, he played 2 games? And then he decided, and there was no like incident. There's no like, oh, on this play he tweaked a hamstring or he landed on a foot.
No. But he played during the first 50 games of the season. I'm saying,
and then he shut it down to be ready for the playoffs. And then he played like 2 games in the playoffs, and then just shut it down for no reason.
Right.
It's frustrating. If I was a Clippers fan, I'd be so pissed. So pissed.
He said he's coming back soon. Who knows?
Do you think James Harden wants him to come back? I think James Harden's kind of happy doing what he's doing. I think James Harden kind of likes this.
Oh, I think he loved last night.
Yeah.
Playing. I mean, what's more fun than outscoring Utah by yourself?
And Norm Powell's had this whole glow up.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. We'll see. He's gonna play 1 game and then shut it down. He's gonna play 1 game. And he's gonna play every other game for like a couple months. He's gonna shut it down and get ready for the playoffs. And then he's gonna play 2 games in the playoffs and shut it down again. It's over. Frustrating.
My last thing is something that has frustrated me, and I do want to mention that. Look, I bitched about how long these games are and how we at post All-Star break stopped calling as much. It wasn't as much foul fest. It wasn't as many free throws, and the games were much more entertaining to the average basketball fan. I went to a game that was 2.5 hours in person. I watched another one that was 2 hours and 40 minutes since we last spoke. I mean, that is insane. They're only playing 48 minutes. Both of them included an insane amount of reviews, and I think I speak for all basketball fans. Put a clock on it. Put a clock on it.
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out, and the problem is, as in the arena, they run it on the replay screen. As a viewer on TV, you've got instant reviews on your TV. We, as fans or viewers of the game, know the outcome of that review seemingly 5 minutes before it's announced.
Oh, yeah. The announcers figured out in like 10 seconds.
It's insane to me. It is insane how broadcast teams can run the tape, run the review. I don't understand in the year of our Lord 2024 why we have to go back to Secaucus, then we go back to the scores table, then we're back to Secaucus.
Now we got to find out how much time is left on the clock. It's not whether or not it was a foul. Now we have to figure out when the foul occurred. Do you know what bothered me about the reviews? There's one review, and we didn't discuss it. It was from like 3 weeks ago. Lakers at the Hawks. Close game. This is right after the Lakers got curb stomped by the Heat. Remember that? And they lost by like 50 points or something. Tight game. Back and forth. Dyson Daniels, I think, gets a steal on the wing. LeBron James chasing him down. Dyson Daniels somehow forgets LeBron James is LeBron James, goes up for a layup or a dunk. LeBron James chase down block, smacks the ball out of bounds. The Lakers challenge. They go through the tape frame by frame, and LeBron James hits the ball out of Dyson Daniels' hands. However, his finger was the last thing to touch the ball before it went out of bounds. Anyone who has ever played basketball, ever played any level of basketball knows that that is a Hawks ball. Hawks ball. One player's going up to take the shot. The other player blocks it from behind, swiping to his right. The ball goes out of bounds to the right. But if you look at it frame by frame, you can see that it touched Dyson Daniels last. There's just no ref. If you ever called that in pickup, you would get laughed off the court. But because you can go through it frame by frame, it was off of Dyson Daniels. And that was just infuriated me. Look,
to me, they got to put a clock on this thing. This is how long. This cannot take longer than 2 minutes. It can't.
Oh, I was thinking less than that.
Oh, look, I'm bargaining right now. Yeah. I'm bargaining because these things take 20 minutes. And not to mention, they ruin all the drama at the end of games.
Or flow.
It's just crazy to me. Like, it's crazy to me. We sat there all summer. We watched FIBA. All summer, we watched FIBA and talked about how awesome this is. Man, this is so fun to watch this basketball. So much better. So much better than what we're used to watching. And somehow we don't take any of the lessons from it. I mean, I swear, every game I watch, you sit there and these reviews take forever. And every announcer bitches about it. Every announcer across the league.
No one likes it.
And they are the voice of the fan that's on the broadcast. If it's driving them crazy, imagine the guy, Joe Sixpack, that's sitting there watching the game. Put a clock on it, Silver.
I like Joe Sixpack. This is a little bah humbuggy.
Uh-oh.
I'm just so sick of the tourists in New York City during the holiday season. It's just it's awful. You can't go anywhere or do anything in Manhattan in the whole entire month of December. You can't walk 4 blocks without packs of people with Santa hats staring up at the skyscrapers, stopping in the middle of the sidewalk, packing Fifth Avenue, every stupid store, every bar, every restaurant, everything. There's a private event all the time at every bar and restaurant. There are busloads and busloads of people. We had this thing called SantaCon this weekend. Do you know what that is? It's when a bunch of people in their 20s get dressed up as Santa Claus and go to bars. I'm talking thousands of people dressed up as Santa Claus. You're out in the streets at like 12:30 p.m. and there's just girls just passed out puke on the sidewalk. I want the holidays to be over and I want everyone to go home.
Hold on now. What about the people that want to ice skate at Rockefeller Center and they want to go to, Fifth Avenue and they want to do the
go home.
What?
Go home.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Go home. Go home. Stop.
Dang, bro. You sound like Eric Adams.
And I hate Jennifer Garner acting like a farmer.
Fair enough. Thank you to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez, as always. And Jacoby, I'll talk to you later this week.